Otherworldlyculture.com presents Terrifier 2 and 3, a panel discussion featuring Lauren LaVera, Elliot Fullam, and Leah Vosey, moderated by Tim Kretschmann, and recorded at the Horror Realm 2025 convention in Pittsburgh.
This is the Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 3 panel, and we have Lauren LaVera, Elliot Fullam, and Leah Vosey. Let's go to Lauren.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Don't worry, he's with them.
That's my
Get
dad.
that crazy fan off the stage.
I don't think they could get more people in, and yet they keep coming in. Thank you all for taking your time today, and thank you for taking time away from your tables. We know you've been busy all weekend long. This is the hot commodity right now. One of the questions I like to ask people that participate in huge horror franchises like this is, did you like horror franchises before getting into one? Is this something you enjoyed? I'll start with you all.
Yes, I think we all kind of feel this way. I was raised by horror movies. I love horror. The first horror movie I ever saw was Poltergeist, and I was just hooked after that. Yeah, it's been a dream to be a part of a horror franchise and to work with such wonderful artists, so we're very fortunate.
I am definitely a horror nerd, and like Lauren, I grew up watching horror movies. My mom and dad have great taste, and I think the very first horror film I ever watched was A House of a Thousand Corpses. Of course, there were some scenes where I had to turn away, though. I was really young.
Did you just say Poltergeist was the first horror movie you saw? That was the first one I saw too, but I was scared of it. I did not immediately fall in love with horror. That it scared me so much. Like, that one really got me. It wasn't until I was older that I started watching horror. Like, I think around like Jennifer's Body time, like that's really when I got into it, when I was like in high school and stuff. And I wouldn't say that like the gore subgenre was ever like my favorite, but being in the Terrifier films and kind of like getting introduced into like that subgenre has been very cool.
So I've heard a lot of debate. Do you consider Terrifier a slasher film, or do you consider it just a horror film? Because it seems to have some oddball aspects, such as the gun being utilized and some of the supernatural elements. So where do you come down in the debate? There is money on this one.
Doesn't Ghostface use a gun? Yes.
Yeah,
He's a slasher,
I would
right?
say that Terrifier is a slasher.
Yeah, it's a slasher.
Yeah, I would say
it's a
so.
slasher. It's a horror film. It's a fucked up clown movie. It's
Do
whatever you
y'all
want it to
agree?
be.
Yeah, show of hands. This is a slasher.
All right.
Yeah.
We should have.
Exactly.
There were some hands that didn't go up.
Yeah.
Though. I did see that. So one of the things that's interesting with the Terrifier films, I think it was a little bit in the Scream film, is they've really embraced the social media, mobile phones. In a lot of movies, they're disabled because they're in a cabin in the woods, etc. Do you feel this is more the beginning of a trend of actually mimicking reality, or is this something unique to the Terrifier franchise?
I hope so. I think it's important to mimic reality because, like, when you watch a film in current day, you're like, why aren't you using your cell phone? Like, what like, you get frustrated. So I think as artists, you have to be consistent with the times and also just use your common sense. So I hope it does, because I love when I can see myself in a character and make choices that would reflect what I would want to see as an audience member. So I think so.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Now, Elliot, you said you've followed some horror movies. At what point did you think running up the stairs away from art was maybe a bad
You know, I was caught up in the moment. That scene in particular, I mean, Art the Clown and the Pale Girl, and I'm seeing my mom mutilated. I feel like I was in panic mode, probably. But yeah,
He did the best he could.
I tried.
Now, Leah, you were very involved in the Clown Cafe sequence. What do you think it signifies? This is probably the most controversial sequence, I think, in the series. What effect did you think it had on the series?
Well, that was interesting because, when we were shooting the Clown Cafe scene, we had some Indiegogo contributors that were there as well. And everyone's looking around the set. It's like these bright pops of color, and it's like rainbow almost. And they're like, "How the heck is this going to fit into a Terrifier film? Like, this is like, the first film. It's so dark and grungy." And I think the fans were like really interested, and I felt the same way too, because I'd only seen that scene. Like, I didn't know anything about the film, but I think it's like a nice break from the darkness of the rest of the film to have this like crazy scene with all these colors and all these people. Like, it's a dream sequence. It's not real. But I think I don't know, honestly, what it signifies, but I think it could be leading us or giving us more information about Art's backstory, is what I would guess. That would be my guess of what it means.
Okay. We had David Howard Thornton and Damien here 2 years ago. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. And he said that the flail was his favorite weapon. You're an actual martial artist. How's his technique?
It's interesting because as a martial artist, you don't really train with a cat of nine tails. So that would be really cool. What's great about Art is he doesn't really need to have wonderful form, and I think that's part of his charm. Like he flails constantly, and I think that's what makes him so watchable and so fun to watch. He got me a few times with that, but I got him back, not on purpose, but yeah, no, he did a good job emulating this really psychotic clown. So in that sense, I think he did a wonderful job.
Do you think your martial arts background helped you with all these action sequences?
I think yes. I think even more so than action, I think it's prepared me for, and I think these actors can probably attest to that, to how grueling it is to be an actor on set. It takes a lot of perseverance, it takes a lot of indomitable spirit, and I grew up studying Taekwondo, and those are two of the tenets of Taekwondo. And you're exhausted by the end of the day, and you obviously have to love what you're doing, but I think if you don't have that indomitable spirit, if you don't have that love for your craft, you could easily just be like, guys, can we just fucking stop? But yeah, more so than the action, which I'm sure helped get me in shape, but it made me have a sense of stamina, which I think you need to have as an actor, regardless of any genre you're doing.
Outside of the movie, you had the chance to ring the NASDAQ bell, is that right? Or you were there at that? The NASDAQ?
I thought you said wring a man's neck.
One can only dream.
That's a better question. Let's go with that one.
I'll wring a man's neck. Yes, I did do the NASDAQ. That was really a really wonderful experience and really surreal. Unfortunately, Dave wasn't there, but we did have a wonderful actor who was dressing up as Art the Clown. It was really eye-opening to how many people have fallen in love with this franchise. And it means a great deal to us because we work very hard, and you obviously, when you sign on for something, you never know what will happen. Obviously, you want to make a good movie. No one wants to make a bad movie. But when it becomes what this has become, it's really special, and that was one of those moments I was like, oh wow, people care, and it means a lot to us.
Where were each of you at the time that you learned that Terrifier 3 was actually beating Joker 2 in the box office?
I don't know where I was. I'm not in Terrifier
3. I was probably nowhere interesting. I was probably just in my bedroom or something. But that's pretty surreal to think about. Right?
It's crazy, yeah.
I was with Damien because I went out to dinner with him, and we were just like discussing, I forget what we were discussing, and we were checking our phones, and we found out at the same time. I actually posted about it. Like, there's pictures of us like looking at our phones like, what? And we just hugged each other, we embraced each other so tightly, and we were just so obviously like we don't want the Joker to do poorly. We are fans of these artists and these actors, but like it was very like beautiful timing for us. It was beneficial for us. We wanted the Joker to be great and to do well. I love Lady Gaga, and of course Joaquin Phoenix, but we were humbled and I'm still at a loss for words for it. It's still crazy to me. And it was really wonderful to share that experience with Damien.
And it's thanks to all of you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And to add to that a little for me, like around that time, because as I said, I wasn't in Terrifier 3, but I was in the Ice Nine Kills music video that was premiering in some theaters after Terrifier 3. So for me, what was very cool about that experience is that the Ice Nine Kills song was charting with like Linkin Park, and Linkin Park was like one of my favorite bands growing up. So that was a crazy experience for me around that time that you guys were beating the Joker.
Well, I believe Bloody Disgusting has been a big part of that growing. Do you think Bloody Disgusting might become like the next Blumhouse and maybe hooking up with a major like Universal like Blumhouse did? Or anybody got some secret background that we can give?
I don't know. I have no information. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't. We're the last to find out everything.
Yeah,
I don't see why not, though. I mean, if they continue to grow and they continue with their wonderful work ethic, like, yeah, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you watch the previous Terrifier film before signing on? We'll start with you.
Before getting on Terrifier 2, yes, I did. I'd heard about it before, but I had never watched it. So when I saw the audition come up, like, I knew what it was, but I hadn't seen it. And so when I got cast, also one of my close friends, Marissa Bertani, got cast in Terrifier 2. She played in the scene when Lauren, Sienna, is watching television, and there's the news anchor. I couldn't think of the word. The news anchor who kind of like breaks the fourth wall. That's my friend Marissa. So the two of us got together at her apartment and we watched it. But what it really was is I watched it and Marissa cleaned her apartment while I narrated to her what was happening because she was too scared and couldn't watch it. So I had to narrate the whole thing to her.
Like I said before, I'm a huge horror fan, so one day we were scrolling on Netflix when we saw Art the Clown, and we're like, whoa, what is this? We watched it, and wow, what a crazy film. And it was always my dream to be in a horror film, so right when we saw that audition, we were all freaking out, the whole family, just for the audition, let alone to be cast in it. So it's a great honor, and it's pretty surreal and crazy.
I didn't watch it, and I was aware of it. I saw the iconic look on Netflix because Terrifier 1 was on Netflix at the time, and I I love horror, and I remember scrolling and be like, oh, I have to watch that one day. And then the audition came in, and I didn't put two and two together. And when you're an actor, I don't know if there are any other actors in here. I spoke to a few this weekend. Hey, when you're an actor, you don't always have time. Like sometimes you have 48 hours, 24 hours to be off book 10 pages. It's ridiculous. That's why we went on strike, but that's a conversation for another day. So I didn't have time to look it up, and I read the sides, and they were like sides with Sienna and her brother, and sides with Sienna, and sides is part of the script with her mom. And I was like, oh, it's a family drama. Like that's what this is. And I'm so happy that I didn't watch the script because as an actor, sometimes when you read a script, you want so badly to fall in the trap of playing the tone. And like if you see it's a horror film, maybe you want to do something horror-y. You want to play into that, where that's not the case. You just have to connect with the character you're with. And that I think that helped me book the part because I wasn't aware that it was a horror film. I was just like, oh, it's a teenage girl. She's going through some shit and she loves her family and it got me cast, so I'm happy I didn't watch it. I have seen it since and I love it, and I love the girls from the first Terrifier, and of course Sam I'm in love with, and yeah, I'm lucky to be a part of it.
At what point did you realize you weren't just signing up for a movie, but the rest of your life going?
Right now.
Right in this moment. No.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Oh shit!
I think for me, like, just because the Clown Cafe scene was the one that I was a part of, and the Indiegogo that they ran for it, they had other funding, but the Indiegogo that they ran was specifically for the Clown Cafe scene because of the fire stunts and just everything that was happening there. And the fact that they wanted $50,000 and they raised $250,000 for that scene, and then obviously the money got doled out elsewhere. That was crazy for me and like sort of surreal, like how much just like the fans were willing to put into the film to help it. But I didn't think I was going to be doing conventions. Like, I honestly owe that to Elliot and Elliot's family because they know our the three of us all have the same agent who gets us, these gigs. Because I sing and Elliot plays guitar, he was going to package us as like, oh, we can like sing the Clown Cafe at some of the panels, which we did the first year a few times. And so because of that, and because of them, like I was able to get on the conventions. Like I was like, I'm in one scene or two scenes because I do the nurse character at the end too. I didn't think I was going to be doing these, so that's been very, very fun.
Shout out to Sean.
Yeah, Sean Clark, he's the best.
I grew up, once again, going to horror conventions. My parents used to be vendors as little punk people. That's like the family brand. My mom would sell her art. And I was always nerding out, meeting some of my heroes, and then I had no clue that I would ever be signing at horror conventions. So getting into Terrifier, it's been a wild ride.
Why do people find clowns frightening? We have so many different ones now, from It and from the Killer Clowns that'll be coming out here a little bit later. And what is it about clowns? Do you have any ideas or insights? Think about that a lot?
Well, I think it really started with the clown. And the concept of that was Pennywise isn't really a clown, but he acts as a clown because kids love clowns, and he wants to lure them into the sewers. So he picked this character that is supposed to be beloved and you're supposed to trust. And I think that had to start shifting, like clowns being scary, but also Poltergeist had like a haunted clown in it too. And yeah, so that, I was really scared of clowns as a kid because of that. So I think it's really interesting to take something like that is supposed to be comforting and safe and fully twisting it on his head and making it not that, because then Art the Clown can walk around or be on the subway at Halloween time and people are like, oh, it's a clown. And they don't pick up that this is supposed to be something scary. Whereas if you have a guy, in like an actual scary mask, then like the general public that see them around will be cued in, okay, this is a scary person. So it's like he can almost blend in because he's a clown, and clowns are not supposed to be scary. So I think that's part of it.
Yeah, they're unassuming, and I think they're the antithesis of what horror is supposed to be or should be. And I think they're the uncanny aspect of it all, and just looking at someone who's smiling at you and they have these ulterior motives, it's just like, what's behind that smile? And I think that's what's so creepy about them, but also so entertaining. So that's why we love our clowns.
Did any of you get to interact with Dan Roebuck or Clint Howard in their scenes for Terrifier 3?
I wasn't in Terrifier 3. But I met Dan at...
So difficult.
I did meet Dan at the premiere that we did for the Iceland Kills video. He was there, and he's oh my god, he's so nice. Nicest guys. That was exciting to meet him. But no, not in the movie.
Yeah, I'm not in that scene, but they are really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of us were in that scene. I was going to visit for that day, but I unfortunately was called away. I was filming something else. But I did meet Danny at Scarecrow's. If you're PA based, this is in Levittown, Pennsylvania, and I love my horror Halloween stores, and I just like hang out there sometimes. And Danny was there, and I was kind of looking at him. I was like, why does that guy look so familiar? And and I didn't know he was in Terrifier 3 at this point. And the owner was like, oh, Lauren, like, you know Danny Roebuck? And I was like, yeah, man, what's going on? And he was like, oh, yeah, we're gonna work together. And I was like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? You want us to work together? Like, is this like something you're hoping that will happen? He was like, no, like Terrifier 3, we're gonna work together. And I was like, what are you? I had no idea what you were talking about. And he was like, yeah, well, ask Damien. And then I asked Damien, he's like, yeah, he's going to play Santa, and Clint Howard's going to be in it. I was like, dude, this is incredible. We got so many wonderful actors on this that we grew up loving and watching. So, yeah, we're still in awe with who we get to work with.
And I think what was cool about that, like, I don't know about him in particular, but a lot of these, like, big actors that ended up in Terrifier 3 reached out to Damien. It wasn't like Damien had this wish list of people and reached out to them. They were interested, and there were so many more people that reached out to him that didn't get to be in the film. But like that, even for my scene in Terrifier 2 with Chris Jericho, same thing. He asked to be in the film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a huge horror fan. Chris Jericho. What was it like working with him on that scene?
Amazing. So I didn't know who he was, but I knew he was a wrestler. And what I know of wrestling, it's acting, but it's really over the top, you know, it's very, very heightened. And that scene is so grounded, you know, it's just two people that are at their job, you know. I'm a nurse, he's a security guard, we're just, you know, shooting the shit. And I really didn't know. I didn't know what that was gonna be like. I didn't know if he was gonna be able to like tone it down to just like be a person. And he did. That was such a good scene to film. It's one of the first scenes on my reel because I just think we were just so grounded and locked in, and it felt like so genuine. And so I was very impressed with his performance there.
All right. When did you find yourself first being called a final girl or a scream queen, and which term do you approve of?
Yeah, it is interesting to say approve because I know that they are both terms of endearment, and I know when people use them, they use it in a way that is supposed to be positive, and I find them to be very positive titles, and I'm just lucky that people even think of me in any way in a positive light. I guess immediately, I don't even remember now. I think first interviews I had even before, like in 2020, when people were like, "Oh, you're gonna be in Terrifier 3 or 2. You're final girl. You're gonna be Scream Queen." And I'm like, "What the?" I grew up loving these women, and I grew up watching Final Girls and horror heroines, whatever you want to call them, and just being really inspired by them. I understand that there are like definitely negative connotations with being called a Scream Queen. It can be a bit reductive for what actresses do. They're not just like screaming and bouncing their tits around like, "Hey!" And it's not that. It's you have to, like Leah was saying, you have to be grounded and you have to like really believe where you are, and it's so much more than just that. But I find the terms, I know what they mean when people are calling me that, and I know that it feels very special to me, and I'm very happy that people care enough to even consider me in any way. So.
Did any past Scream Queens reach out to you and say, "Welcome to the club"?
Yes.
Do we have secret meetings?
Oh,
Secret club.
I can't say. The first person was definitely Felissa, and I think that was because Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp, and that was because I worked with her on Terrifier 2. I mean, no, we didn't actually work together, but we were on set the same day.
I got to work.
You got to work with her.
I got to work with her too in another film.
Oh, that's so great.
She's the best.
She's so great, and she was just with just such open arms, and she was just like, "You're gonna be great." She like imagine like an aunt grabbing you by your shoulders, like, "This is your time. You're gonna be great." And I was just like, "Oh my god, I love you so much." And of course like Danielle and Scout from the Halloween franchise, and so many others. Like everyone I've met thus far has been so supportive and so welcoming, and they know all the pressures that come along with it. So I think they've helped me in a lot of ways, and I'm just so fortunate to call them my peers now.
Switching gears to Elliot once again, what's with all the X's in your bedroom in Terrifier 2? They disappeared in Terrifier 3.
Oh, well, in terms of the bedroom, I know Damien was telling me that he wanted the bedroom to kind of be more of a blank canvas, like he was trying to get away from his past. So I feel like Olga did a fantastic job at designing the bedrooms. Shout out to Olga, she's awesome. But I am a metalhead at heart, so we did try to sneak a lot of metal posters, a lot of my own personal posters in Jonathan's bedroom in part 2.
That's great. What are your social media goals? I see you have your channels keep getting bigger. As I was doing the research on this, every time I kept checking, it was just clicking on up. Where do you see this going?
For those of you that don't know, I do social media. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all of them. But I don't really have a specific goal other than just to spread as much positivity as possible, spread as much love, because that's exactly what we need right now in this time. And I'm a huge music nerd as well, so I'm talking about a lot of music, all sorts of music, metal, indie, alternative, grunge, 90s. I'm a huge 90s fan.
I saw some vinyl over at your table.
Yes, I do make music myself. So if you're a fan of like bands like Radiohead, Mazzy Star, Alex G, Elliott Smith, you might like my music. I have 3 albums out.
Wow. Lauren, you get put through the ringer twice. How do you prepare for that? How do you make it seem still real the second time? Because you kind of know it's going to be bad right from the beginning when you start showing up again. How do you keep that fresh?
I love how you pose the question. As soon as I show up, things hit the fan. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's different circumstances this time, and it was really fun finding her journey this time because it's 5 years later. It's not immediately after the events, and I had to discover and discuss with Damien where her headspace would be 5 years later. Because you have a good idea of how someone would react immediately after the events. You're like, okay, they're just frantic or upset or whatever you can imagine. But 5 years later, she's been in and out of mental health facilities. She's probably spent little time with her family. And what has that done to her? So I reached out to a lot of mental health facilities, specifically in upstate New York. They didn't really want to talk to me. I had to lie and be like, oh, I'm writing a paper for college. They didn't care. But I did a lot of research online, and for myself, and of course this doesn't work that's what's so wonderful about acting. We all have such specific journeys, and there's no one way to do something. For myself, I use a lot of substitutions. So if I'm feeling a certain way, I'll try to use something from my past, or sometimes I just am able to really empathize with the character and really feel what she's going through. I know it's kind of a cop-out answer. It's not a great answer, but it's also just because I work with such wonderful artists and they immerse you into this universe when you're there. So it's a product of my scene partners. It's a product of the wonderful cast and crew. So I'm just very happy that I get to work with such talented people. They help me tremendously.
So each of you gets to interact with fans a lot now. What do you keep hearing over and over? What are some things that you hear repeated that you see, oh, maybe this is the thing that made Terrifier such a huge success? Are there certain items that they keep bringing up over and over that you're like, I gotta tell Damien this is the thing?
I love the pop figures. I love any of the figurines. I used to collect pop figures. But in terms of questions, I keep getting asked whether or not I'm alive. I honestly don't know. That's Damien keeps everything hidden from me. And even with Terrifier 3, he didn't even give me the script until a couple weeks before filming. So I don't know what's going on in his mind, his disturbed mind. But if he wants me back, I am totally down.
I very often I probably heard this 6 or 7 times today that people did not know that I played the Clown Cafe host and the nurse at the end. So a lot of people, on their first watch through, didn't realized it when they watched it again, don't realize it till they get to my table and they see both pictures there. So I get that a lot. Obviously, I get told that the song gets stuck in people's heads and they're constantly humming it. Today, I don't know if they're in here, but 2 people told me that it's the song that they play before they feed their dogs. So every time their dogs hear the song, that they get really excited. So that was really cool for me. But yeah, a lot of talk about the song, for sure.
I feel like my interactions with fans have been very personal, and a lot of people feel very connected to Sienna, either because they lost a parent or because they're an artist themselves. I love when I meet people, and this happens often, and they might even be in this room, it also happened this weekend, that they were like, oh, I started doing cosplays because of Sienna, or I am a cosplayer, and I felt, represented by Sienna, or especially with Sienna and Jonathan's relationship. They're like, I have a sibling, and I would do the same thing for my sibling, and it's very, very special to me. But I think what most people say that they really love about Terrifier is the humor, and I agree with that. I think horror and humor go so well together. They complement each other so well, and I think that's the secret sauce. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't know. It's Damien's creation. I'm just here to help make it. But I think that's the secret sauce to making this franchise a bit special.
Well, I do have to ask, have any of you heard anything about a Terrifier 4? I don't know what we're hearing.
I feel like you guys know more than us, honestly.
Yeah.
I truly,
I do too.
Yeah. Like, he doesn't tell us anything. I know that Damien's writing it right now. I know that he's planning on this being the last, which is very sad. But I know I have a good idea of where Art and Sienna's story will end, because he told me when he cast me, but I truly have no idea what the journey will be leading up to that point. So it'll be as much as a surprise, I think, for us as it will be for you guys.
Well, let me ask about some of your upcoming projects. We'll start with you, Leah. You got anything on the burners right now?
Yeah, so I mentioned before that I got to work with Felissa Rose again recently. Well, I didn't work with her specifically in Terrifier 2, but we have another credit together where we do actually interact. It's a film called The Boy from Below. It takes place in the 90s, and it's about a friend group living in a small town. They're dealing with their own shit, but then there's also there's like lore around the town about a killer, and he resurfaces this year, and he starts, wreaking havoc around the town. So that's going to be a fun one for sure. It was really fun to film that. And then just for my own personal stuff, also talking about Ice Nine Kills before, Ricky Armelino, who is one of the guitar players of Ice Nine Kills, him and I collaborated on a song recently of something I wrote. He produced it. He's an incredible producer. I have a music video for that, which is almost finished. So I'm hoping by the end of the month that song will be out. And then hopefully by the end of the year, I should have 5 songs, original songs out that are sort of like within the rock genre. And my YouTube channel, I'm a cosplayer, so like that's like a huge passion of mine. And I think, as an actor or a creative in general, it's very, very hard to just kind of do one thing these days. And so between acting, music, and cosplay, I'm trying to work on all of it. But the great thing about the YouTube channel is that's like full in my control, and it's, it's all up to me, everything that I do. So the cosplay stuff has been very fun. I love when people come up and they tell me that, they found me through Terrifier, but now that they watch my YouTube channel, that's always very heartwarming, because that's just, comes out of my own brain. So I'd say those are the 3 main things, but there's like a few other things in the works, something I'm writing with a couple people that I'm very excited about, but it's definitely too early to be talking about it yet. But we already have some interest, producers that are interested in working on it once we kind of like flesh it out a little bit more. So hopefully talking about it now can breathe it into existence, and it's a horror film, to make that clear. So I think when we get that ball rolling, a lot of people in this room will be very excited about it. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
Right now, I'm currently working on my 4th album, and I'm working really hard on it. I don't want to release anything until it's perfect, so I have no ETA on when that's going to come out. But I'll be working on it all year. Maybe, hopefully, at some point in the summer is my goal, but I don't know if I'll achieve that. But I am in another horror film called The Pitchfork Retreat. It's an anthology horror film that is supposed to come out around, at some point in 2025, but it was really, really fun filming that. So keep your eyes peeled for that one.
I am still working on this film called The Monster with Jaimin Hanzu, who's a wonderful 2-time Oscar-nominated actor, and Darren Bausman, who worked on Repo the Genetic Opera and some of the Saw franchise. Really wonderful. I'll actually be going next week to a different state, I can't say where, to be doing some pickups and ADR for that. And I'm really excited for people to see that. Other than that, I've been writing a Western slasher, so hopefully that'll be something interesting. And yeah, I've been having some really wonderful meetings with really exciting production companies, and we're hoping to collaborate soon. And not really anything I can talk about yet, but hopefully I'll be able to soon.
Fantastic. Now, before we go to questions to the group, so that gives you all time to think of questions, I do want to ask you, are there any things that happened during the movie that weren't scripted that ended up in the finished film, like happy accident type things that we should be looking out for? I see you nodding.
Oh, constantly. Like, even we worked on our church scene together, and we improvised a lot, and a lot of lines he threw at me, and I threw back, and it was really fun. That's like the joy of being an actor, just like working off of each other and listening to each other and making discoveries. It happened all the time. I can't even pinpoint.
Always a pleasure working with you.
I I don't have an answer for that one.
It happened constantly, constant happy accidents.
Yeah.
I will say one that wasn't a super happy accident for me, and this is a spoiler. When Sienna bites into the intestines at the end of the film, it squirts up my nose, and you can see it. That's the take, and it was like this puree of like dish soap and cherries, and I was like actually gagging on it, and that's the take they used. And after they yelled cut, I was like, can someone give me like a towel or something? And Damien's like, wait, say cheese, and he just took a picture because he's an absolute dick. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff like that, and I think there's a lot of honesty in those like truthful, honest moments. You can bet that was probably improvised.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody deliver the line when Sienna was biting into the intestines quite like you just did. That was something else. We're going to go to the crowd. Who's got a question? I know you have one. Go ahead.
Is David the same on the set as he is in the movie? Does his character shine through on the movie? His personality? I mean, is that really like his fun-loving, teasing, that type of...
He's actually a murderer in real life.
I knew it!
Because he seems like a fun guy, you know, off the set. I don't wonder if some of that just shines through on the set with teasing and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a silly guy, and I think, I mean, that's what makes a good actor, right? If they can bring a portion of themselves to the character, and I think he does that every time. Like, all of his silliness is really just him. I really think what makes it so scary is a lot of the editing and just the circumstances, but really he's just being silly. And that's, I think, 100% Dave.
And Art is having fun.
Yeah.
Like, Art is enjoying himself constantly. And yeah, I think that, Dave's a natural comedian, so that's him. Yeah, he's a goofball.
He is.
So my question actually is, so obviously on David's Instagram, he does a lot of side projects and, little projects with his production. Is there anything we could look forward to that might be a little side thing with Art in it or anything like that?
I don't think so, except for that it's already out, but Pete Davidson's television show had Art the Clown in it. What was that show called? Bupkis?
Bupkis,
yeah. I'm not sure what that's on. It might have been Peacock, it might have been Apple. I'm not 100% sure, but if people want to use Art the Clown, they have to go through Damien for it. So, like, even with Iceland Kills, like, they had to... That was, like, a long process to get Dave and Art the Clown involved in it. So, I don't honestly know if that is going to happen more often.
We can do it. Is it out there? We got the group. Does anybody know?
Yeah, does anyone know here? I don't think so. I think, like, Damien's, like, definitely precious with Art the Clown. I don't think he's...
Didn't they do something with Spirit Halloween? I seem to remember there was a big viral campaign with Spirit.
Oh, yeah,
it was
he
like
did.
The sunglasses, the sunflower sunglasses.
Yeah, he went into a Spirit Halloween and filmed some promo stuff for that, yeah.
I don't know if there's any gamers in here, but he was also in Call of Duty, and that was pretty fun. I was playing some Call of Duty multiplayer as Art the Clown, and that was pretty surreal. That was
what
like
was he doing? Carrying the flail?
It would be sick to get him into Dead by Daylight. I feel like that would be pretty cool. Yeah.
And as goofy as it is, I think if Art the Clown was like somehow like in Fortnite, they have Saw, they have Leatherface. That would be so cool to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be nerding out.
Let's see, we got one there, Orange Hat.
Yeah, one of the rules in fiction, I'm a horror fiction writer, is that you don't hurt animals, you don't hurt kids. So here's what I want to know. I mean, this is what sets Terrifier apart, is it breaks all the rules. How did you get away with it? And you had to get pushback, and I kind of want to know what that was like.
That's such a Damien question.
Yeah. We're just the actors. We didn't write
Let
it.
Damien figure that out. I remember when I read the script, and Olga and I were talking about it, and we were like, he's gonna do what? And there's gonna be a bomb, and who's gonna die? And it feels very representative of a lot of fears that real people have. And I really do think that Damien, and of course I can't speak for him, but I think he wants to just like kind of dip his toes over the line, but he doesn't completely cross the line, and I think that's why you don't actually see children die. It's implied, and come on, how many slashers have killed kids? And didn't like Chucky speak to himself about what age is the appropriate age to kill a child? He's like, no one under 7 or something like that. And it's like, I'm pretty sure Art hasn't done that yet, so I listen, as long as they don't kill any cats or dogs, I'll stick with this franchise.
He did draw the line on killing a baby because in the Iceman Kills music video, they wanted to kill the baby that gets born, and Damien did say no. Can't kill the baby, so the baby lived.
We now know the line.
That's his line, yeah.
Is there a point on set where you guys felt like actual fear in any of the scenes?
Let me repeat that. Was there a time on set where you felt the fear?
Honestly, one of the scariest parts, and I know how you were saying, like, he does incorporate part of himself, but he morphs and turns into Art the Clown. Like, sometimes when he has to be cold, like the brief moments where Art the Clown puts that serious face on, he does a great job of playing a killer clown. I do have to say.
It's really interesting because a lot of the time when I work with Dave, we're not looking at each other because that's just the magic of filmmaking, because there's the camera set up, I'm looking off camera and I'm looking at nothing, or just someone's holding my eye line. So to answer your question, I'm not super scared of Dave. He's a very silly guy and I love him very dearly. But I have felt real fear on set because, again, I will substitute something that's happened in my life or I will imagine something horrific. So yes, but no, I'm not scared of Dave.
I think you should be.
For starters, I promise to act like a human being for much longer than a fucking seconds. My question for Lauren, how did you get involved with the well, and just, are you passionate about art in real life, or what's the story behind the well?
Am I passionate about art in real life? Do you mean Art the Clown or just art in general?
No, art
For the well.
Art in general. So that was by Federico Zappaglione. He's a Italian singer-songwriter. And my husband's from Italy, and he was like, Federico Zappaglione, like, do you know who that is? And I was like, no, I don't know who it is. And he was like, he's this famous, musician. And he DM'd me, and he was like, there's this thing I'd love you to work on. I'll fly you out to Italy, and we'll do this thing. I was like, you're gonna fly me out to Italy? Okay, let's do it. And Italy's like my favorite place in the world. And I got to work with some really wonderful actors, and it was just a wonderful experience. And it was funny because it was my 10-year anniversary from going back to Italy when I was studying abroad in Italy. I studied abroad, that's where I met my husband. And it was 10 years later exactly, and I was like, I'm doing the thing that I love, and I'm making a film in Italy. And it was just this really beautiful, wonderful thing. And it was something different. It was something I had never done before. He was wonderful to work with, and everyone was wonderful to work with. So as long as it's like a character I find interesting, and if they're gonna fly me out to another country, yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, the ending was a little confusing. I didn't get I didn't get like 30 years later.
Yeah, gonna have to ask him that. I didn't write it.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Leah.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the dream sequence
Mm-hmm.
and the Clown Cafe host, is there any insight you can give us as to what that was supposed to stand for? Was it just like random happenstance, or is there a deeper meaning behind that?
I honestly am not sure. I feel like just because, I was never told anything by Damien, so for me, I can only, guess. And I obviously think that there's some connection between Art the Clown and Hell, because at the end of Terrifier 2, when Sienna ends up back in the Clown Cafe in, the dunk tank, and she's, fallen into the ground. For me, I feel like it has to symbolize hell in some way, and I feel like it has to be a part of Art's origin story of where he came from. But whether or not I've been told anything, I have not been told anything, so I'm not really sure. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know if it's ever gonna come back into play in any way, so yeah, I'm honestly not sure. That's just what I can guess.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the fan theories are about the Clown Cafe.
I know, I think
when
so
I talk
too.
to people,
Yeah.
it's always about the Clown Cafe. So I think a lot of us feel it's foreshadowing something. What it is, I don't know, but I don't think it's just about breakfast cereal. We have time for probably one more. Go ahead.
The franchise is perfect. The only thing that bothers me
Uh-oh.
He is not a clown, he's a mime.
No, he's not a mime.
Okay, if Dave was here,
Dave would get mad.
he will crucify you.
Hold on.
So,
No violence, please.
yes. So, yes, he would tell you the difference between a mime and a clown is that a clown uses props, things, and a mime does not. A mime pretends, and he clearly uses a lot of fun goodies. So even though he looks like a mime, he's very much a clown, and that is something that Dave would be very passionate. He would speak very passionately about that.
Yeah, I don't think it's
He's
the last
basically
speech.
Gallagher?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing? He's Gallagher or Carrot Top? For track comedian thing?
I mean, yeah. He's got his bag of tricks. He's always pulling stuff out, and yeah, I think I agree with that because a mime, it's not about the fact that they don't speak. Like that's part of it, but it's about that they're creating spaces out of nothing, and like you have to use your imagination to fill in what they're creating. But yeah, he's using props because if he was a mime, he wouldn't be able to kill people.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I am
Thanks for
gonna...
making me sound stupid, but...
They're all love. It's just, it's so funny because the amount of times that Dave has gotten angry. He's like, no, he's not a mime. And I wish he was here to see that. It would be really funny.
Next time I see him, I'll be sure.
Please do that. And call me over so I can watch him get angry.
Hey, you might end up like Allie.
We are going to
You know what happened to Allie?
here.
Dead.
Go ahead.
With all the symbolic Christian undertones in Terrifier, the second and third one specifically, and Gabby falling through the floor, presumably to hell or the Clown Cafe, how do you think Sienna's physical strength or faith can avenge Jonathan's death or save Gabby when confronting Art and the environment that he's luring her to?
I think it's a really interesting situation we're both in now because I know that some of the series can seem convoluted, but I can tell you that Sienna and Art now are on a very even playing ground because what was keeping him alive and immortal, Sienna beheaded. So he's a human again. He's mortal. So even though she's lost her power, so is he. So, and I think that's really interesting that, and Dave likes to say like, oh, it'd be interesting if they have to like get into cahoots to both get their powers back, and that's how they venture into hell or something. And I'm like, oh, slow down. But I'm really excited to see where that goes because now we get to see both of their human and mortal strength. And I think what makes Sienna so cool is not her powers, it's that she has to step up and she's brave. And she'll do it for her family. She'll do it. She won't do it for herself, but she'll do it for her brother, she'll do it for her cousin, and she will literally go through hell and high water for those people, sword or not. But I don't know how Art the Clown's gonna do. I guess we'll see.
All right, we really want to thank our panel. I am going to say before we end, there's a lot of people in here, so please be cautious on exiting. And everybody be safe. At least there's a bunch more killer clowns running over here in just a couple. So please be cautious, but let's give them a really
Thank you guys.